Forever. Remember? We said forever.
Oh no.
Yeah, oh yeah. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be working in the backyard and we are going to be moving some trees and planting some trees, which I'm so excited about. I've been looking forward to this day. We have been waiting for the rain to kind of calm down a little bit, and we wanted to get these planted before we leave on our trip and before the ground really freezes over. So let me show you the area where we are going to be planting today. Let me talk to you about some of my plans. I'd like to get your feedback, and then we will jump right in. I have a couple of trees to get in that I'm really excited about. Ones that we already have in our garden, but we are going to be repeating them. And I think that's just going to add a lot of just more cohesion in this space over here. So anyways, let me show you the space that we're going to be planting up today, and then we will jump right in. So we are in the back corner of our garden. And one quick thing, one of our neighbors just removed a tree that was over here, and there was a branch growing around one of those wires, and so they just cut it off and left it there, which I think is hilarious. And it's like where my eye goes every single time now. But this is the area where we're going to be working in today. Now, if you recall, there used to be a beech tree here that actually we lost this last year, which is so sad because it was such a beautiful tree. But I did buy a replacement that we're going to be planting a little bit closer to the house, and I'll show you guys that in a sec. But we were trying to figure out what was causing that tree not to do well over here, because other things have done well, but that beech tree just, I don't know, we had it for a couple of years, and I think this is what's going on. If you can see, this is probably the lowest point of our garden in this corner here. So all of that water is just pooling around the root ball of where that tree was. I tried to remove it by myself and I ended up breaking, snapping it. So it's going to be kind of, I'm going to say fun, but more so challenging to get this out. But what I want to do is actually remove this Bush's Electra cedar here. Now, I love this tree and I think it's beautiful. However, I want something that's going to give us a little bit more privacy back here. So this is where I think the Vanderwolf is going to go. This tree I'm going to dig up and clean up and give it to one of my friends. I think this will look really beautiful in her garden. And then the idea, my thought, was also to move this Avondale redbud here. I'm not 100% sure quite yet, but I would like to put another evergreen back there and bring this Avondale a little bit closer in. However, the only problem is I don't want it to impede into the cut flower garden or compete with anything else that is going to grow over here. So I'm kind of just hanging on to that one for just a sec, but I still definitely want to get this guy out. If we have time, I would also like to plant this Weeping Mulberry, which is just the sweetest tree and has the yummiest little fruits on them. I would like to put it right back here in this corner, just tucked between these two trees over here. I think that will look really beautiful and will keep this kind of tight. And here's the thing, I am a firm believer that you can move anything in your garden, including trees. It's important to do it at the right time, which we're approaching winter time where our trees are going to be going into dormancy. So now is a good time to do it. And we've moved a couple of trees in the front that are doing amazing in their new homes. I think we moved those two probably, gosh, it was like midwinter, late winter. So we are doing it a little bit earlier, but I'm confident that these are going to be just fine. And I'm also a firm believer that you have to love what's in your garden. Don't try to grow on it. In my opinion, I've given this tree time and it's just not growing on me like I thought it would. And so I really want to be mindful of what I'm planting. And also because we don't have a huge backyard and a huge property right now where I can plant anything and everything my little heart desires. So I have to be like thoughtful of what I really want out of this space and what hopefully I can bring to this space for the future of this garden, if that makes sense. There is also one more tree that we're going to be digging up today, and that is one of our fig trees. Back here is where we are going to be removing our king fig tree, this guy right over here. We do have, I think we might have another one of these, maybe not, but we are not sure where we're going to put him yet. So we're going to dig him up and pot him up and just hang on to him for a bit to see where we're going to put him. The thing is, this tree it produces good figs, but I just don't think it's getting the light that it requires to really thrive. So what we want to come do, well, this was actually Sergey's idea. Trust me, I tried to fight it, guys, but he won. And all of you who voted for this option, you won. We are going to be putting in our new weeping beech tree right over here. Which at first I was like, I really did not want it over here. I was fighting it. But now that we've had it in this corner, it's growing on me. I think it's a beautiful tree. And the only thought was this area, and one of you actually mentioned this area is a little bit dark, but that's okay because we will brighten it up with other beautiful shrubs over here, especially once we kind of redo this fence area back here. I think it's going to be really beautiful. So if you just imagine and you step back, that beech tree will actually look very beautiful here, and it will bring more vertical interest, and that weeping feature that it has, I think will be very stunning, especially when you're looking at it from the deck. So that is the game plan for today. So let's get our tools, you know the drill, and then we'll jump right in. All right, that was a workout and a half. And now we're thinking we might keep that tree. Now that we dug it out, now we're like, well, it might look good in the side garden. So I think we might keep it. We didn't promise it to anybody. Nobody even knows we're taking it out except you guys. So I'm actually gonna hang on to it for a little bit until we decide with Kate what we're gonna be doing in the side garden as far as tree planting goes. So now we're gonna be putting in the Vanderwolf, but Sergey made a good point. Like, we shouldn't put it here, right? You want to move it a little bit closer over there.
Yeah, I think move it a little bit. That way we have good spacing. Because it gets how wide?
So
20,
the no, 10 to 15 feet wide.
10 to 15.
Yeah.
So
the
like 5 to 7 feet on each side. That will fill the gap between the other cedar.
Yeah.
Giving us enough room over here to your right.
Yeah.
To put another evergreen.
Okay, I hope you guys heard that. We didn't mic him up today because I didn't think I was going to need him.
Or
ever. One day. You have been in my videos though, just older videos. Like you've been in my videos. I just don't think all of our newer crowd.
I never gave any consent.
Sergey said he hasn't seen royalties of being on my videos yet, but you get to be with me. That's that's your bonus, or that's your royalty
I thought
prize.
Being in the garden means you get away from me.
No.
Not bring us closer.
Forever. Remember? We said forever.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, so I think we will might come up one of these days, guys. I promise. But he has been in older videos.
Yeah, I think we should just move the soil a little
bit
over.
So
fill that hole and don't dig too deep because we are gonna plant it higher, right?
We have to plant it high. I'll
show what.
Yeah. Let me show you guys what it looks like. Do you see how wet? So here's the trade-off of living in the Pacific Northwest is you literally, even though we've graded our yard, because we're still at a slope, this is what happens. It's just like pooling water.
Also look what is happening with the beach tree.
I show them. I showed them earlier, like this is why that tree didn't make it. So the plan is to plant, so we're gonna fill this hole up And then we are going to be planting a little bit off to the side here, off to my left. And then we'll fill this hole up and then we'll plant it really high. Look at this. And then hopefully that'll be fun. And this is why we plant a lot of our trees a bit higher. Not only to like give it kind of a mound effect, but also to help with the water problem that we have in our yard. So anyways, let's fill it up and dig another hole. So you can see we're planting the tree pretty high. Typically, I wouldn't say to do this. I would say dig a hole, a wide hole, drop in your tree, fill it back in. However, because we have so much water retention in our garden back here, this is what we found works best for us. And our arborist, Eduardo, was actually the one who taught us, like, hey, you can do this. And obviously all of our other trees that he helped us plant are thriving. So I'm going to follow what has worked for us. And I also didn't make the hole too wide. I noticed that too when Eduardo was planting, like the day that he was here and we were planting trees together, he didn't dig his hole so wide. Usually I would typically go a little bit wider. But in this case, I'm just going to keep it tight like he did, because obviously whatever he did is working. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and backfill this. And then I will just water it in lightly, but not too much because we do have rain on the forecast. So I'll just do a little bit of water around it. Obviously, if you're planting a new tree, you want to make sure that you water it in really, really good and really, really deep. But for us, Mother Nature does that for us. So let me go ahead and just backfill this in. All right, here is where we are. Boy, that was an adventure. This is what you look like when you garden in the Pacific Northwest. So it's beautiful, but I hope you like the rain and the mud and all of it. But you know what? It still feels really good to get out here and get this done. Let's have a look at how everything is looking. This mulberry looks so beautiful. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but in the springtime and summertime, it just has a beautiful, beautiful kind of umbrella shape. And we will have to stake this one because it is weeping quite a bit. So we'll stake this one up just a little bit, ever so slightly, just to make sure it gets a little bit more adjusted to that area and not so flimsy. And then we removed the Blues Electra. Again, I think we're gonna keep it, put it in the side garden, I'm thinking, because now that we got it out, I was just like, wow, I really actually do like this tree, which, you know, I'm allowed to change my mind. It's okay. We put in the Vanderwolf here. Now, I know it looks really high and it probably looks a little bit funny to you guys, but when we come in with more compost back here, it will start leveling this area out a bit more. So we will need to come in with compost. Again, we don't usually use mulch. We use compost as our mulch just to build up our soil in our landscape. So we will go ahead and just bring in some extra mulch probably this springtime just because it's so wet right now. I still need to come in and take out the beech tree, so I will do that another day. And then let's go over here and see how the new beech tree looks. So if we look now, looking at it planted, I can get behind the decision. Before I couldn't, but now I get it. I was having such a hard time with visually how this is going to look, and I'm still curious to see how it's going to look in the springtime. But just having that beautiful tall weeping structure right by that bench is going to be beautiful. Of course, we will keep it pruned up and make sure it doesn't get too big, because these can get big if you allow them to. They are a beautiful tree, but again, I like to play with space and I like to push our trees and kind of our area to see what is the limit. So I play a lot around with spacing, and we've talked about that before in our tree videos, our tree tour videos, and how we like to plant everything kind of tight. But we manage the space by pruning everything every year to make sure it doesn't get too out of control. Now this area back here is kind of empty, but I'm hoping once the siding is redone, we will come in with more shrubs and beautiful things over here. I would love to put in maybe like a little pathway. Let me back up. A little pathway over here right up to that bench. Just find areas in our garden where we can bring in some stones so we can walk to it so it looks a little bit more proper. One other thing that I'm actually really loving about this tree is the color. It has beautiful fall color interest. So I'm happy about it. I can get on board with this decision of putting it back here. I am so wet and cold, but that's okay because this is a pretty face of a Northwest gardener and I don't even care. I know my hair is probably a mess, but it is what it is. So with the trees that we dug up, I'm going to go ahead and pot up the Blues Electra and then also the fig. The fig, we're going to decide on if we're going to plant it somewhere else in our garden or if this is one that we gift somebody. And then the Blue Electra, we'll keep it. And we might put it in the side garden because this can get kind of wide, but it doesn't get very tall. So if we can tuck it in somewhere, I think that would be really beautiful. So I will wait to see what we do with it in the springtime. But for the meantime, just potting it up with potting soil, it will be perfectly fine. Just keep it watered. It will be fine. And regarding the back corner where we put the Vanderwolf, I'm thinking that we might come in with some red twig dogwoods just to help absorb that water. Red twig dogwoods can really take that type of environment. I'm trying to think if there's any other like good shrubs that I like right out the top of my head that would be well in that really wet, swampy area. If you guys have any idea or recommendations, let me know down in the comments section. But I do think like a drift of the red twig dogwood would be kind of beautiful back there. And those you can just kind of let them go and they get really big, or you can cut them down every year. So they're pretty hardy and they're pretty tough, which you would have to be with the way I like to garden and being in that really wet environment back there. So anyways, I hope you guys liked today's video. I hope you learned something new. I hope this encourages you. If you don't like a tree in your garden, take it out or move it if you can, if it's not too big. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today in my garden and watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.